Class example 2.2.1, determine each product. Now the word product is also going to mean expand. You could see that as also multiplication. So product itself means that we're going to be multiplying this binomial, which is x minus 3, by the other binomial, which is x minus 5. I'm going to do it one way for question A and then another way for question B, and you can kind of determine which way that you like the best. So just in our last class example, we used something called the distributive property, which meant that every term on the first set of brackets, or every term that's going to be multiplied by everything in the second term, we could rewrite this as x minus 3 multiplied by the first term in that second set of brackets. And then we could also have x minus 3 multiplied by that second term in the set of brackets. But notice here I had a minus 5. And so if I was to break up the x minus 5, I can actually put that minus sign in between those two. And it looks like then I'm going to take this entire expression and multiply it by the x. And then this entire expression and multiply it by the 5. But because I've got that minus sign in between, I'm going to keep it. Now this is just going to be x multiplied by x, which is x squared, and x multiplied by negative 3, which is negative 3x. Over here, I'm going to get a minus sign. I'm going to get 5 times x, which is 5x, and I get 5 times negative 3, which is going to equal to negative 15. I want you to notice that I kept my negative sign in a big set of brackets going on here. Now, we saw this already in one of our other previous examples, that when we have that negative sign on the outside of a set of brackets, it applies to both of those two terms on the inside. So this actually becomes minus 5x plus 15. We're going to collect our like terms. I can see that I've got a negative 3x and a negative 5x. So I then say I've got x squared minus 8x plus 15 all together here. And that is the product of x minus 3 multiplied by x minus 5. Another way that we could look at this is, instead of actually using that distributive property, we could rewrite it as, I like to call it FOIL. Sometimes I say STUI or something like this, but it's just an acronym, or it's just another method to actually go ahead and expand something out. Now, we already know that everything in the first set of brackets has to be multiplied by everything in the second set of brackets. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw lines in between those. At the end of each line that I draw, I know that I'm going to actually have to multiply those two. So I'm going to take 5m times by 2m, and then I'm going to take 5m and multiply it by negative 6. I also know that everything in this first set of terms has to be multiplied by the second set of terms, so I can say that negative 1 has to be multiplied by 2m, and negative 1 has to be multiplied by negative 6. Sometimes I call this the claw. Right? Look, he's got like some nice nail polish on. And you can see it kind of looks like a lobster claw. And so then I know, I feel like, okay, I've got it right. Another way to call this is FOIL. And we say that's the first. So the first two terms, which is 5m and 2m. Then I would say the outside. O-U-T-S-I-D-E. So the outsides, which was the 5m and the negative 6, right? And that's like the first of my claw. This would be the insides. So that's the negative 1 and the 2m, and then the lasts. And that's what the acronym of FOIL means. It's the same thing as the claw, and all I did was draw a couple of lines. You're going to see me do this quite a few times over the next couple of examples. So here I'm going to take 5n and multiply it by 2m, which is the first. 5 times 2 is 10, and m times m is m squared. Next, I'm going to take 5m and multiply it by negative 6. I get 5 and negative 6 is going to equal to 30, and m stays the same. Next, I'm going to do with the insides, or in other words, negative 1 multiplied by 2m. And I can see that negative times a positive is going to be a negative, so I get negative 2. Oops, sorry. And I have an m left over. Then I have negative 1 times negative 6, which turns into a positive 6. I can see I'm going to collect those nice like terms in here again. So I get 10m squared, negative 30m minus 2m is negative 32m, and then I add 6.